Thank you. Are you done? Are you done? Well, let's get this new year started. Anything else you need to do? You need some coffee or a little snack? You know. Well, Happy New Year and Happy New Year at home. We had no idea who would show up, if anyone would show up today, being New Year's Day. And actually, at like about 23 after, there was no one here. And so we thought it was going to be a live stream exclusive, but as it turned out, you thought it would be a good way to start the new year, and I agree with you. First of all, let's get the logistics and business out of the way. You know, we are doing our burning bowl ceremony today, or ritual, towards the end of the service. And so we're not scrambling to know what to do. We're going to have a little tutorial now, just like at Christmas when we had our candle lighting tutorial, so you know what to do. So does everyone have one of these?
Yes, sir.
Now, you will need a pen. So we've got 2 pen receptacles, so I want to make sure everyone now has access, because there's nothing like kind of having a ritual go flat if suddenly we're all looking for pens. So we need to get this all out of the way. And you can share with your neighbor or whatever, which is fine. I think we still have plenty of random pens. Pencil is okay. Yeah, see, this is what would go on right before that. So we just like to get this out of the way. And at home, just so you said, I didn't know you were having something tonight. Yeah, so cut a little piece of paper. It'll be different than ours. Get a candle and put it, like here, I have it in a bowl. My candle's going. And with some foil, because when something goes on fire, you don't want it to set anything else on fire. So, yeah, my candles are doing something weird, but that's okay. And I just want to urge you now, don't write on this yet. I know you want to be really good first graders and get approval from the teacher to step ahead. Don't do it yet, because what you would write now might be a little bit different in a few minutes from now when we get there. But to give you a clue, again, put your pens down. It'll be different. On one side, you will be writing one word that represents something you would like to be done with, release, disconnect from, and just one word. So the intelligence that created the universe can know what your one word means. And I know sometimes we think that we have to do like a microfilm thing where the whole book is on there. The universe is pretty smart. It knows what you mean. One word is good. Even like if you drew a triangle and said, that represents what I would like to release, the universe is pretty smart. It can figure it out. And then on the other side will be one word or symbol that represents something you would like to invite into your experience now that you've made room. So let that percolate. Because right now, I bet something came in your head. Yeah, that's it. Yeah, well, you know. But I guarantee in a few more minutes you'll say, maybe it could, yeah. And so when it gets time, we'll kind of line up here, and you'll come around, and why are these? We might end up using this candle. This is not looking really good here. But I'll do mine here. This is magician's paper, which I love, and this is what happens. Poof. So it magically, what you want to let go goes away, and making room comes in. So we're clear about the business aspect of today. Don't write anything. I know you want to. Don't do it yet. So, New Year's Day is kind of everything comes together with all these different holidays and observances that we've had. And the overall theme, as I've talked about the last few weeks, is making room. It's the birth of new things. It is, in a sense, letting go. It's opening to an idea of the miraculous can happen, or at least what appears to be the miraculous to us. Whereas I say for myself, the biggest miracle is getting out of my own way. And that can open the door to many things. But at the same time, the holidays open us up to discomfort. our stress level raises a little bit. Just a thing of like, I love our decorations and all that we've got going here, but it's really awkward to have a table here. It's awkward that Jana had to move the furniture around. And there's something quite wonderful as much as we love all our decorations, is when we take them down and suddenly we have so much room. But I mean, it's a symbolic thing. It's like, yeah, that was great, but do we really need that stuff all year round? And some people go crazy with it much more than we do here. But it really kind of brings in that idea that, wow, there's room for something different in our lives right now. And to relive and to have that idea that I can make room and we can invite something in that's even more amazing. But we approach this sometimes, as Jana talked about, at the level of the New Year's resolution. When we're at the level energetically wise or state of consciousness of, let's call it the New Year's resolution, they rarely come to fruition. Have you noticed? Usually, it's something that we kind of would like, or we say, oh, I would like to have that thing, or I'd like to lose 1 million pounds, or I just know if I'll get up at 5:30 to go to the gym every morning. And without a shift in consciousness, we say this would be great. And it's interesting how many days that we follow through with it. It's so that we're usually, when we approach something at the level of a New Year's resolution, we don't elevate our energy or our consciousness to the level of healing, that we make a wish or desire stated at the level of where we created the mayhem in the first place. And that is why we have difficulty transcending. So it takes a little bit more work. Years ago, when I was living in Los Angeles, I had a friend who was in the sales department at a local health club. It was one of the chains. And he said the first 2 weeks of January were the busiest time of the year. And that they were ready for him because I don't remember what chain it was, and they would always run a special. It was like, 1 year membership for $75 or something ridiculous like that. And he said people would line up to pay their $75, and more often than not, that was the last time they saw them. So you went and paid the $75 to make yourself feel good that, yes, I'm going to, really get into an exercise program, and you will never darken that door again. So that's the level of a New Year's resolution that I would like us to avoid today. So one thing that I've come through is, as for myself, thinking or deciding, what do I need to release, and what would I like to invite in, to look at it, to start at the desire to have a shift in consciousness. So, and you may have heard me say this over the years, I've come to the conclusion that it's not so much asking myself, my human John self, what would I would like to have, or even what I would like to release. The question I asked as an attempt to elevate beyond just my ego self is to say, well, what does Spirit want of me? It says, not what I want, but what wants me. What in the level of consciousness that I am now, and the point of my being, of my life right now, what is up for positive change? What door wants to open for me? Often when we make intentions or just say, oh, I would like to get rid of a certain thing, we do speak from it from a level of human ego. And we may not have that connection to it yet. We may not be ready for it yet. It may not be time for that yet. But there's always something percolating within us that if we tap into, there is really a wisdom and consciousness within us that says it's time. And usually, this is again what I have found, I know that I've tapped into something true of it's time, because often my first reaction will be, ooh, not that. So here's a list of things that are more comfortable to get rid of. And this is the list that's less comfortable. And I found that when I seek to tap into something greater than myself that I'm connected to, that often it leads me to something that's just a little bit uncomfortable. And again, that's usually a good sign that you're on the right track, that it's a bit of a stretch. So to know that there's something calling us to be different. So when we look at today, at the first half of it, of releasing something, it doesn't always necessarily mean you are releasing something that you have as labeled as a negative or bad. And we have plenty of those things, of things that are uncomfortable, or a bad habit, or something that has affected us in a negative way. Sometimes we need to release something that has been amazing and wonderful, whose time has come to say goodbye to. And that hurts, doesn't it? Because we want to kind of get back for something that just made us feel so good, a way our family might have been at a certain point in its history, or our community. And I think even this overall arching of growth we've had through this period of COVID, we have had to do a lot of releasing. Things that we didn't want to see go away, but they did. And so part of our releasing even today will be, that was amazing and wonderful, and I feel so blessed with it, and its time has gone for us. I had an interesting experience this week. I was looking through my laptop at the pictures. There was a certain picture I was looking for. And I'm sure, like you, I've got like hundreds of pictures on my laptop. And I went into the folders of Light in the Mountains of different pictures of like barbecues and things that we've done. And I was looking through it, was it yesterday, 2010 and 2011. We are a completely different group of people. No, I mean, really we are. And I remembered those events and how fun they were and wonderful. And we had certain people that we had come and do entertainment outside. And many of those people, life has taken them to different cities. Some of those people have passed. They have died. And some people physically much stronger then than they are now. And I just thought, wow. And a part of me was like, boy, I miss that version of us. Have you ever looked at a picture and go, yeah, I miss that version of us? And I realized that's part of this kind of release and letting go too, is that that's not the only amazing version of us that exists. That there's a version of us that right now in this room that's just as amazing, but different. And as this year evolves, we will see that there is another version of us that is seeking to come forth. And that's part of the letting go too. To lovingly bless that whose time has passed for us. So it's not just about, quote unquote, the bad stuff. So let's look at this in a different way, in that let's take ourselves out of, let's say, the ego self of just what I want and what I don't want. In my blog this week, I put an affirmation that I got from a book I've been reading called Resurrection. If you've not heard it yet or not read it, at first it may seem to bring up more questions than answers. And that's actually really a great thing about an affirmation, to draw a greater wisdom from within you that at first you may not have any clue of what it really means. So I'm going to give you the line, and we're going to take it apart a little bit, and we're going to utilize it as we go a little bit later to a short visualization to write on your papers. Don't write yet. Not yet. Don't you do it yet. I know you're itching. I see those kind of pens up here a little bit. It's simply this. It says, I know who I am. I know what I am. I know how I serve. I know who I am. I know what I am. I know how I serve. And the genius of this affirmation is that it brings two portions of our identity together that appear to be in contradiction, but are not. It brings together the infinite and unchangeable aspect of our nature with the very changeable and what appears to be finite aspect of our nature. And we bring these two together, in a sense, to open ourselves up to amazing change in our lives. So let's start with the first bit. I know who I am. This sometimes can be uncomfortable for us, because it speaks to the infinite nature of who we are as spiritual beings. We are infinite spiritual beings. We are, as Ernest Holmes writes, perfect, whole, and complete at all levels of who we are, regardless of what our physical lives look like. It also is a recognition that the consciousness of the Christ is fully planted in who we are. And just saying things like that on a human level can make us humanly squirm a little bit, isn't it? Like, who am I to say that I'm perfect, whole, and complete? Who can I say, after all this whole Christmas thing, to say that the consciousness of the Christ is birthed within me and shows up as me in all that I do? Because as humans, we also recognize that there is an appearance of imperfection. We all make mistakes. We all are unkind at different times in our lives. We all do things like, oh, I can't believe I did that. And so when we talk about our infinite nature, I know who I am, this larger aspect of who we are in connection with spirit, the divine, the universe, at first it's just like, that's too much to live up to. That's like, well, maybe 30,000 workshops ahead of me somehow, that I can't claim that just yet, but in a sense, it wants to claim you. That's how this works. We talk about, which is true, that we have free will, but our connection to all there is in a sense not a choice. The only choice is that you don't recognize it. It is. Just like breathing air with oxygen is a thing that happens for us as human beings. There's no way around it for us to survive. So part of this, and it's a very challenging thing sometimes to realize that there is an infinite nature of us that is absolutely perfect and connected in this imperfect world. So part of our overall life lesson, not just with our little paper thing today, is to always start with that little bit of knowledge. Anything that you're going into, anything that you feel like you're just not up to it, that you aren't enough in some way, that you think less of yourself in some way, to know that absolutely you are perfect, whole, and complete, and you are at one with all there is, and the presence of the divine shows up as you each and every moment. It's a sobering fact. And again, it makes us squirm a little bit. Imagine giving that line at a party. Yes, I'm perfect, whole, and complete, and one with spirit in everything that I do. It says, you just knocked over the punch bowl. You know, you wouldn't probably tell that to people that you know during the holiday season. We probably all did some pretty silly things this holiday season. If nothing else, just like eating too much pie or something. It's just like, what did I do to myself here? But yes, yes, we have a testimony here for too much pie. And we all have too much pie lurking in our refrigerators, don't we still right now? It's like we need to release it. It's like, throw it away. Enough is enough. But still there is a perfection in it all. So hold that up as the unchangeable truth that we are going to now attempt to challenge ourselves to seek support from the universe, to bringing it to the part of an aspect of our lives that appears to be finite and imperfect. So the second part of this, again, we started, I know who I am. We talked about that. I know what I am. Knowing what you are is this costume, in a sense, that we've put on as human beings. The what is the thing that changes. It is the thing that it's like we came into this life and just said, what should I be for Halloween? What costume can I buy? What costume can I create? What parameters of seemingly limitation can I come up for myself as a way of learning in the physical world? And as we look at ourselves in the mirror and look around the room here, you don't actually have to look at each other. We all have these identities we came in here with. And it's simple of partially what I chose to wear today, how you got your hair cut or didn't get your hair cut, what you chose to have for breakfast, what you say, this is what I like for breakfast, this is what I don't like for breakfast. We have this very complicated human identity that we have created for ourselves. And it is seemingly finite. And it does exist in this physical world that appears to have limitations. And those limitations, at least in the law of physics, are real. I can't walk through this piano as much as I try. I can't do that. That is the limitation of a sense that we've created in this universe, in this physical world. But we can become mesmerized by this seemingly finite nature of who we are as well. We forget our infinite nature. We forget that as convincing as the finite is, we have the power to make a decision to rise above it, to do something else. And we all have done that at some point in our lives. And if you can't think of something now, you think about it during the day. There has been a point in your life, probably multiple times in your life, where you felt that you had reached the end of your resources, that you couldn't see your way out of where you were, that you might as well just kind of give it up and call it a life, and then something amazing happened, and you were like, oh my God, I never saw that coming. I can't believe that that possibility came up from within me. Or when I thought I was down and out, the door opened to something else. We've all done that, haven't we? So when that happened, whether you are aware of it or not, there was a part of you, your infinite nature, that said, no. There's something bigger and better for you that you haven't considered yet. And since you seem to be having a moment, I'm going to do it for you in the background here. We're just going to give you a little push here and say, see that open door? It's been open all the time, and now your consciousness is saying, and then you go, oh, I guess I'm not down and out. I guess I do have another possibility. I guess there is another way to go, and you, each and every one of you, have had that experience in your life, and you've had it multiple times. So this process of saying, I know who I am and what I am, brings it more to the conscious level. In a moment that you're possibly in fear or anxiety or just feeling like, I don't see any way forward, you can go, oh, I can now do this process more consciously. I can admit or recognize that I have an infinite nature that I can meditate on, bring on, and just visualize into my situation, knowing that it may not instantaneously change it, knowing that it may not bring me physically what I think I would like, but it's going to start the energy moving for us to see a door that's open that we've not yet seen. And that's how it works. And then the third part of this, let's reiterate, I know who I am, I know what I am, and I know how I serve. Service is simply how you are showing up in action in the world. We have this weird thing about service. We think of it as just volunteerism. And yes, there's many opportunities to volunteer in a positive way in this world, where you officially show up like at the Hunger Coalition and pack lunches or something like that, which is amazing and wonderful and absolutely needed. But as something even Jana alluded to, service begins when you step outside your front door. It shows up how you show up. It's the kindness of your heart that you bring into a situation like during the holidays that everyone just seems to be like, what just happened? It's the situation where, let's say you stagger into Atkinson's when everyone who just came here off the plane and the airport are there shopping and like aimlessly throwing things in their shopping cart and like not being nice, that you see a sense of something greater there instead. That your service is to see them as perfect, whole, and complete, even though they're just a crabby mess because they've just been flying from God knows where. You make the decision to show up differently in very small ways. And it's funny as human ego is that we think unless if it can be like the big ticket item, that somehow it's not important. Like there was a gentleman, I think it was 2 years ago, that was speaking at a college commencement ceremony, and he was quite wealthy, and he announced he was going to pay the student loans for everyone who was graduating. Can you imagine the mayhem that happened there? And the average student loan was like about $45,000.
We all long to do something in service like that, don't we? Like, I would love to do that and say, 300 students, whoever is graduating, your loans are gone, and I did that. I would love to do that. I'm not going to limit myself, but it's unlikely I will ever be able to do that. Again, I am open to that level of wealth to share. I mean, I'm not saying I'm not worthy of it. I'm just saying that it hasn't happened yet. It could. A lot of other amazing things have happened in my life that I was surprised. But sometimes that holds us back. Well, until I can pay off everyone's student loans, I'm not going to do anything. Well, you might have a long wait. Again, not to limit you or what your resources are, but service is right where you are. It is in the heart that you share with the world, and it is in those little interactions that the miracles happen. I don't know how you've been listening to the news over the last couple of weeks with like they've been calling it a cyclone bomb storm or something that happened in most of the country, and I think we got the perimeter of it. I've been reading some amazing stories of how people have shown up in service. Haven't you? I mean, in just ways that just have blown me away. There was that one man that he realized people were in their cars and they were like overnight and trying to turn on their car heaters like every once in a while and to save gas, and he had talked to different people, and many of them were elderly, and he's looking at his GPS, and he realized, and it's so snowstormed, you don't even know where you are. I mean, there's just snow everywhere, and he realized that they were close to a school, and he says, I have to break into this school. I have to let these people that are actually going to die in their cars, give them a place to be. And he did. So that spark of what we are connected to will give you an idea that seems to make no sense. I mean, the first thing that may have come to his mind is like, how could I break into a school? I mean, wouldn't that come to your mind? It's like, yeah, but how does that work? Does Spirit with this say, okay, go to window 3, that's the thinnest window pane there, take a rock this size and just go like that and you'll go in? It doesn't work like that. Guidance just it's kind of a need to know as you get there sort of thing. But he got that spark like, there's a school here. People's lives can be saved. They have heaters and food in the cafeteria, even if it is just mac and cheese. It'll be great. So that is part of opening yourself up to service, and that is kind of a big thing to me. And you might be called, and it's something like that, you get this outrageous idea. But more often than not, you are just going in your daily lives, and an act of kindness of how you can serve just kind of goes, help that person with their box at the post office. Let that person who looks like they're having trouble driving, let them have the parking spot. Simple things of service where you can make the world a better place in such a little way, and they add up. So in doing a visualization for our little project here, as we talk about releasing or, in a sense, giving something up, going to invite us to elevate our consciousness and what we think are possible. In our visual, here's a spoiler alert of what the visualization is going to be about. I'm going to invite you to bring up, in a sense now, this situation you kind of think you want to get rid of or release. And we'll do this more formally. So this is just like the crypt notes getting to the real thing. I'm going to invite you to bring your unlimited nature into this thing that just seems to have you God smacked and you don't know what to do. I'm going to invite you to bring your infinite self into this situation and see what happens. And you may not have I'm not going to say like, boy, I never knew I could do that. What you do is the way consciousness works is that you start the ball rolling. That you may or may not get an answer of how to release that today, and you may get it on the way out the door. Something hit you tonight as you're making dinner or having dinner. And the whole point of this thing that we do with the flame and the papers, there's nothing magic about this. But there's something about a physical act in your intentionality that kind of drives it home a little bit. You don't have to do this, But there's something about doing something in a ritual that we resonate with that makes it a little bit more real. So that's the whole purpose. So let's close our eyes for a minute before we do this. So, first of all, let us just sit here in gratitude. Isn't it amazing that with all that's going on in the world that we are here today together? Whether you're in this room or whether you are at home in live stream, live or during the week, isn't it just amazing? There are so many reasons why this couldn't have happened today, but it did. And here we are. So as we come to the end of this holiday season, let's bring to mind a situation that we would like to let go of. Something that we seem to be tethered to in a way that just feels unhealthy, either emotionally, spiritually, or physically. And you may have felt the energy just go down a little bit in the room. We're thinking about something that has possibly brought some pain to our heart. But before we decide or affirm to let it go, let's raise it up a bit. In this situation that you are having right now exists the infinite. As an actor in this situation, you are perfect, whole, and complete. If there's anyone who has been giving you distress that is involved in this situation, even though they may have acted badly, they themselves is also perfect, whole, and complete, and connected and an emissary of the consciousness of the Christ in their life. Imagine that. In these situations that we have so much conflict, we are all emissaries and the consciousness of the Christ. Isn't that amazing? It almost doesn't even make sense sometimes. But think of that for a moment. In this situation that may be troubling you is the consciousness of the Christ, is the answer of who you are, a perfect spiritual being that came here to learn something. And if you're sensitive to this, you may have felt the energy of the room elevate. As we have come to remind ourselves of this truth. And the thing is, we know it to be true. So we just naturally elevate in our vibration and in our consciousness because we know that it is true. So in this elevated state of consciousness, come to one word that would represent this thing that you would like to let go. Just one word, because again, the universe is pretty smart. Just one word. And in a few moments, when I ask you to do so, you'll write it down, but we're not done here yet. But keep that word in mind, that one word, in this, of what you would like to let go, in this elevated state of being. I mean, you can truly, it's amazing how, in a sense, easy it will be to do from a higher elevation of consciousness. Because you can see that it has no control over you anymore. It has no need to be in your life anymore. That you can easily wish it on its way and bless it on its way and thank it for its lessons. So let's put that aside for a moment. So when letting this go, you've made some room. So with this room in your life right now, you are a person of choice. What amazing thing would you like to take its place? And it doesn't necessarily have to be a thing per se. It could be more joy, more peace, more unconditional love, more ability for you to show unconditional love. It can be anything other than, as well as a concrete object. So in the state of knowing that you are perfect, whole, and complete, what one word would represent that thing that you are joyously and celebratorily allowing to come into your life? What is the one word? And so when you're ready, on one side, write your word of release, and the other side, your word of acceptance. And the infinite nature of the universe has shown up 2 fresh candles because these others aren't cooperating. This is actually amazing. Santa must have left them there at Christmas Eve for us. So when you are ready, you come around here and come up here and just simply, like I'm here, it's gone. Yeah. So let's close our eyes again and let's finish this little ritual off with a prayer. And so in this elevated consciousness, even though you may not see the results as yet, know that it is done. What through this elevated consciousness that you have chosen to release and let go, it is gone. You have untethered yourself from this, and you have grown in consciousness as a result of it. You may physically see these things go away over the next few days or weeks or so, but know now, in consciousness, it is gone. As well as that which you have invited into your life. You may not see evidence of it today, but it has been created in the mind of spirit in this moment. So it is here. It is fully developed in the mind of spirit, making its way into the physical at its most appropriate moment. Know that you aren't waiting for it per se. It is here. And so we leave today at the end of this service in a few moments, knowing that something has left and something has arrived. And we give thanks for that. And so it is.
Amen.